So this is about application of statistical tools, SPSS and MOS in the field of marketing. So very important for us is try to understand before we reach AMOS, you need to be very clear about the basics that are required, because AMOS is more of a regression analysis that happens. And to know more about AMOS, we need to be very clear about SPSS. Now, quickly, I'll be just running through the session. We'll be just discussing in terms of what we say, like the a point of emphasis. So I'll be highlighting certain things wherein you are supposed to make a note of it, especially when I am just pinpointing on certain things, because I feel that SPSS, AMOS, everything has been made very simple for all of us. And the only thing what is required is how do you go about in applying it and understand what are the outputs that are produced, what they mean, and how to use it in the papers wherever you want. So it's very important. So let's analyze. So the entire presentation, you can see there are some 20 aspects of this. This is the flow of the presentation. We are going to start with one sample t-test, then two sample pair t-test, chi-square, a little bit of non-parametric, then ANOVA, MANOVA, correlations. Then we have regression, hierarchical, then we have logistic, decision, discriminant, cluster, factor, conjoint, and finally we'll have AMOS. Okay, so this is the flow of the structure. So let's understand. Don't get like dazzled just because hearing those names, what it means, and all are very simple. But you need to understand, like what are the variables, how they have been used, and what can be done about those aspects. Okay, so initially they may look very alien to all of you, but going forward, as you start applying those concepts or those exercises into practice, you start feeling that it is so comfortable and you start getting motivated. So my intention of this MDP workshop is to see that how best we can apply these tools. What are these tools? First of all, each tool is meant to measure something. I'm sure like the people who have done their doctorate or who are doing their doctorates and all, you would like to use these tools. And here in this MDP, we'll make a point to see that how best we can apply those procedures that are there and try to see that we are able to get the right kind of results, which may be useful for us in terms of interpretation. So let's quickly start with this. Now, before we go there, before we start with the analysis, I'll just quickly run through one or two slides on this parametric and non-parametric. The objective of this slide is to make you clear that the entire SPSS or AMOS runs on parametric assumptions. And under parametric assumption, we expect the population to be normally distributed. If the population is not normally distributed, you'll always find that we cannot use parametric tests because there will be some normality test. If they fail, then maybe you are not in a position to use it. So that is why the entire classification of statistics is divided into two things, parametric and non-parametric. In case of non-parametric, there are no hard and fast rules, and these tests, they are very few, but definitely not respected in the academic world or in the industry world, because they lead to bias and other things. So people don't end up using even SPSS. They are not so keen about non-parametric. However, when it comes to chi-square or goodness of it, we end up using this non-parametric test. So let's start with this. So this funda should be very clear, because when we say parametric, it is universal. Look at the mountain and all. Even a mountain is also a bell-shaped, or what we say it is normally distributed. And let's see like what examples you have. You look at the height, look at the tossing of a dice or tossing a coin, or it may be your IQ graph, or you just look at the stock markets, income distribution in the economy, look at the baby weight or shoe size. Everywhere it follows normal distribution. When the sample size increases, then you will always find that entire aspect, all our data points, they start following the pattern of normal distribution. That is why we say like normal distribution is so important, because that is what like SPSS like accepts. In normal distribution, you can see there like this is a very important slide for people who are in academics and all. most of our students, they are mid-level performance. There may be exceptionally very good students and there may be exceptionally very poor students. So you can see here, so this is where again we say that it is normally distributed. So whatever examples I have given, this is just a gist of it, right? There are several other examples which follow normal distribution. That is why SPSS and AMOS, they strictly follow this a normalized distributed data system. If that is there, then only their results will be worthwhile. Now these are quickly understand the parametric and non-parametric. On the left side, this is what we'll be deliberating today. On the right side, the equivalence is being given. Not many parametric, non-parametric tests are not many, whereas when you talk about parametric tests, I've given you a list of almost 19 tests that will be delivered today. So you will be seeing like how these things are applied, and you can also understand that parametric tests are more in numbers and useful. So this is again aspect that you need to understand here. The normal distribution. When we say normal distribution, SPSS follows two things. One is they are always depending on the mean, and they are going for standard deviation. So what it says, this is an empirical rule which has come out. A lot of research has gone into it. Now you look at this one standard deviation or -1 and +1. They say that all the observation, right, and 68% of the observation fall in this -1 to 1 standard deviation, and 95% of the observation fall in the +2 to -2, and +3 to -3. You can see 99% of all the observation. What it means, when you take any data, let it be height and all, as you go on increasing your sample size, you can start finding that these get normally distributed. So that is why we always have two things when we talk about normal distribution. One is the mean, what we say the central measure of tendency. The other is the standard deviation that is being looked upon. So all your data points, by and large, you can see that almost -3 to +3 sigma limits, 99.74% of all the observation definitely fall into it. Now why this particular chart is kept in front of you, we'll be seeing more about these aspects later. But as of now, try to understand that when we say like a particular population, like you pick up sample from the population. Now we always want that sample and the population, like there has to be some the sample should exactly replicate the main population. If it is not replicating, then what happens is whatever inferences you are going to draw from the sample may not be correct. So that is why we always keep on saying whether it follows within that accepted zone or whether it follows into the rejection zone. All these aspects we'll be discussing. So let's move on. This is one small example. You can see that there are two deviations that have been looked upon. One is -15 and one dotted is 30. So if the standard deviation is very big, like I said, SPSS or AMOS runs on mean as well as standard deviation. Now, if the deviations are more, you can see that the curve is getting spread. And if the deviations are less, like we say like 15, so 100, 115, you can see that it is becoming narrow. And in SPSS or in AMOS, we always say that if it is at the center, right, maybe like, or what is the meaning of this meaning, this is the point where mean, median, mode are same. This is the point. So we want all the data points, these are the data points, all the data points should fall within this zone. Once it falls, then we say like whatever inferences we are going to draw, because mean is an exact representation of the sample or the population. So looking at the mean, many a times we say like, okay, what is the average? Many a times when you ask your kids and all, okay, how many have got first class, how many have got second class, maybe we try to take a mean of it and try to say like, okay, these many first class are there, oh, I'm also first class, and you somewhere you just get adjusted with it. So mean always speaks, right? What is the average salary of the staff? So once we get the average salary, I compare my salary, okay, I'm near plus or minus here and there, then I feel very comfortable. Now the moment I know the average and I am very far, I start getting agitated. What is this? I'm not been recognized. So that is why we always quote the examples of mean. Means gives us an exact representation of the entire data. By looking at the mean, can I say that I am very much within the limits or I am totally out of the scope? So you can see here, this was a small study which was done for pizza delivery. The central mean is 30, 5 minutes is the grace deviation plus pi and minus pi, you can see this angle. So that is where it's a 1 standard deviation plus pi, you add again 2 st and 4 st. So 99% of all the observation definitely falls within the scope of minus 3 standard deviation to plus 3 standard deviation. So let's move on to the next one. Uh, so this is how we'll start our program. So that was a brief introduction to all of you. 2 points you need to take. One is when we talk about SPSS, please see that our samples are normally distributed. If they are normally distributed, then whatever inference we are going to draw makes sense. Otherwise, if it is not normally distributed, then we have issues. So what we have to do to make it normal distributed, always increase your sample size. So let it be your research. Please see that as many samples are included. Don't take less sample, because once you start taking any inferences from the small sample, then we have an issue. So we always say, like, please go on and keep on increasing your sample size. If the sample size is big, then we start becoming very close to the population mean. So population mean and the sample mean, if they are very close, then the error gets reduced. So if the sample mean and the population mean, if there is a lot of gap, then whatever inference you draw from the sample makes no sense. So let's start with this. This is how we'll start up. Now let's see what is one sample t-test. Very simple. There is only one sample, and this sample we are comparing it with a population. Always when we say about sample, we use this x, right? And if it is a population mean, we always use it as mu. So this is the mu that has been there. And many a time we always set the hypothesis by saying the sample mean is equal to the population mean. Why do you say this? Because a population, we always believe that that is the exact replica of, like what is happening around us. And now if the population mean and the sample mean, if they are becoming very much equal, then we say like and then whatever treatment I do with the sample, the same thing can be looked upon with on the population. And entire population we cannot consider whenever we take research. That is why we just take 1/10 of that population, and we try to arrive at conclusions. So these things are important. So population mean, sample mean, because the more you understand about these mean, maybe you have started understanding about statistics. So let's see, like I have a scale, I have a problem, and this is what you can do. Examples in marketing, like the Facebook impressions for a company is 1000 per day before the campaign. Now the company is running a campaign. After that, whether those impressions have changed, so you can see there 1000 per day. The moment Facebook impressions are nothing but the number of times, like you are exposed to the ad. If I am the customer, when I open up Facebook, immediately the ad comes up to me and I see it, right? So that is where the company says like, okay, one impression done. So like that, they say like a company has 1000 impressions, right? 1000 per day before the campaign. This was the average that was there. Now they have come out with an advertisement, and after advertisement they would like to see like whether it has changed or it is the same. Similarly, there are other examples. Whatever is being highlighted, you can see that it may be the mean height of the sample data, and we take a sample and we compare with the population mean, or it may be here white babies, right? Compare with black babies, are they same? Or whether average age of retiring is 65. So like that, what you can see is already the population mean is defined. Now from the population, I try to take some sample and I try to compare whether it is same or it has changed. Okay, so let's see, this is the problem that is there. Now you can see there uh, the problem statement, one sample. This is average sales data. Okay, that is 5000 rupees. And but now the company is interested in giving some training to the salesperson. So training is given, we expect the performance to improve. Now after that, we take a survey and we try to take the sample. So 25 salespeople, their sales achievement is being captured here. So like this is the file that is being looked upon. So these are only IDs, and each salesman like this will be having some 25 people, how much they have achieved. But although already the last year average sales is 5000. Now this is what we need to check. Look at the hypothesis that has been set. the sample sales per transaction do not differ significantly from the past average sales of the 5,000 of rupees 5,000 per transaction. So it says that whenever we are setting the hypothesis, we always say that there is no difference between the population mean as well as the sample mean. Now, whatever you do this, now if I take the average of this is called as sample mean. And here last year sales, they have taken the average, which is 5,000. Now I want to compare. Now when you look at this, you can see that this is 5,400. Oh, here it is less. Here again 6,200 compared to 5,000 is high. Here again it is little but like more. This is almost equivalent to 5,000, 5,300, 4,600 is less. So like that, when you look at this particular data, you feel like you are not able to arrive at the conclusion whether this has change. I mean, this is high or compared to the last year or not. For that, we are going for one sample t-test. You can see here. So let's see what can be done. So this is what we open, one sample t-test, analyze, and you just come here. You can see that I am going for a testing variable. I have put the sales transaction because I had 25 data here. It was here. I have pushed it inside, and I am going for testing this. Test value is around 5,000. So I compare. So I just press this button, right? OK, and you will get this answer. And look at the mean that has come. So mean is 5692, right? And standard deviation of 912, and sample size is 25. Now you need to look out for, whenever I'm looking out for a table, this is the output which is generated by SPSS, and you can see here that like it is less than 0.05. To understand SPSS or AMOS, just concentrate only on the SIG value or significance value, and always if this is less than 0.05, then we say like whatever hypothesis we have set, it has been rejected. Now what was the hypothesis? We said that 5,000, there is no difference in sales, right? Even after training, we said like there is no difference in the sales. But however, from the result, we are able to find out, since it is less than 0.05, we say that the hypothesis is rejected, and we conclude that there is significant difference in sales. So that means training had an impact on sales. So look at the problem statement. We said that whether training was given, and they want to know like whether it has changed. Yes, it has changed. You can see there the difference is coming. So we can easily compare and say that looking into this data, the people who have performed, there is an improvement in the sales. So hence we can conclude training had a significant impact, and it has actually yielded better results. Even looking at the mean also, without running all these tools, you can still conclude, oh, last time it was 5,000, now it is 5,692, a clear indication that the mean has improved. That means the training had an impact. No wonder our sales guys are able to deliver those kind of results. So let's move to now two population. We have done only one population. Now we are talking about two population. For that, we go for independent sample t-test, and there will be two groups. Now these two groups need to be judged. So let's take example, like these are common examples. Now one more thing, like when you are observing your slides, please look at this. Whenever you say one, I mean like we are talking about one particular problem, like we have conjoint analysis, like one sample, two samples. So always concentrate on this, and whatever examples are giving, I am giving here, these are generally which has been applied. You can apply in different fields and all. Like we have said, like SPSS in the field of marketing, not necessarily marketing, even let it be HR or let it be finance. You can see that everywhere all these tools are applicable, because you need to understand more about the variables, and you as an expert of the subject, maybe you can decide like what are the variables that you would like to have for your study. So we need to have a basic understanding in terms of how this SPSS can be used, and what are my variables, how can I apply these variables and try to get some inferences. So these are, again, you can see that a grocery sales manager want to know whether customer segment, that means these are about two segments here. One is variety seekers and one is family feeders. Now these two segments, whether they spend more on groceries, this is something that needs to be checked. So like that, you can see it may be medicine, it may be sociology or biology, everywhere you have examples. So let's go to the second problem statement, that is two sample t-test. So this is a survey which was conducted to know the perception of Levi's jeans, and it is conducted in two cities, that is Delhi and Mumbai. and we would like to know whether they perceive the Levi's brand in the same way or they perceive it in a different way. So that means you can see from the problem statement there are two samples, one sample coming from Mumbai, one sample coming from Delhi. Now, as usual, I set the hypothesis there is no significant differences in the ratings given by the customers in Delhi and Mumbai. So this is where we are setting the hypothesis. Now, when you are feeding in the SPSS, you should SPSS understand you need to code it, right? These are the ratings which are given, maybe out of 1 to 5, or it can be 1 to 7 or 1 to 10. And here you have city 1 maybe Mumbai, city 2 maybe Delhi. So like that you can see, like whoever has given, it's a very small sample which has been taken, and we would like to know their perception towards this Levi's brand and whether it is same or whether it differs. So that is where we are going for two sample t-test. Now you can see there this again analyze, and you go there descriptive statistics, you will have independent sample t-test. So here we are putting the ratings, and this is grouping variable is our city 1 and 2, because we need to define this. You have to press this and say 1 and 2, because the computer understand you have decided 1 2, so the computer should be known, should be made known to it, and we are just feeding this data. Now once you feed this, this is what is going to come out. So there are 15 people from Mumbai, 15 people from Delhi, and look at their mean. One is 3.73, the other is 4.73. You can see the mean difference is already so much of difference is there in terms of their rating, and they perceive it in a different way. That is what we are able to understand. So let's look at this output which is generated by the SPSS. Now immediately, as I said, you need to look out for SIG value. Here you can see that 0.01 definitely less than 0.05. Then we can conclude that there is significant differences in the perception rating given by Mumbai and Delhi. So they perceive the Levi's brand differently. Now here again you have two columns here. Now this is equal variance assumed. So look at this Levin's test, and Levin's test, this if it is greater than 0.05, then you have to take the first row. Now if this value is less than 0.05, then you have to take this reading. Okay, so these are the two things that needs to be looked upon. So for literature, you can Google and try to find out what Levin's test says, that if it is greater than 0.05, maybe then we go for down, or this value if it is more than 0.05. Now here it is 0.401. Definitely you have to read this line and take the reading. So that's what is this two sample population. Now let's go to the third aspect, that is paired t-test, like before and after. Now you can see that here the subject remains the same, and maybe like you are comparing the ratings before and after, like simple, like I want to know the perception about something, and after the advertisement I want to know the perception. So you are catching hold of the same respondent. Before, how he perceived, after going through the ad, his perception may change or may not change. Now that is going to tell us whether advertisement had an impact or not. So here the measurement is happening twice. So these are you can see some small example. Ad agency wants to know the effectiveness of a 15-second ad versus a 13-second ad. Whether this ad was able to recall for a particular brand. So we try to test this, or it may be blood pressure before and after. Like many a times this sweat testing happens in some of the shopping malls. This was actually tried by Quaker Oats. What they did was they initially measure your blood pressure, and then they'll give you oats, have something. After some time, they will come and measure your blood pressure. So they try to prove the point that your blood pressure has come down after consuming oats, a clear indication that before and after maybe there is a difference. And if the moment you show the difference to your customers end up like believing the product that has been sold. So let's start with this third problem statement. It's a paired t-test, and we want to know attitude towards the Tamarind brand, and before advertisement and after advertisement. Tamarind is a famous brand. It is known for clothing, jewelry, bags, and all. So we would like to know their attitude, like attitude of the people towards that particular brand. So initially we set the hypothesis. You can see here there is no significant difference in the attitude towards Tamarind brand before and after. So this is what has been done. So they give their ratings, right, before and after. It has improved. So you can see there compared when you look at this thing, you can easily identify that yes, there is drastic improvement in terms of perception. So let's look at it. So we apply the tools, and you can see here this is the output. The mean is 5.78 and the mean before is 5.78 and afterwards again it is 3.28. So look at the values here. SIG value, yes, 0.000. So this is definitely less than 0.05 and we are able to conclude. Now just in case you have this value as a 0.1 or 0.2, then we say like there is no difference, right? Before the ad campaign or after, there is no difference. But right now, since this value is less than 0.05, we conclude that there is significant difference in attitude towards Tamarind brand before and after the ad campaign. So the attitude has changed, the advertisement was effective. So that is how you end up concluding. So all these tools, whatever I have said so far, it may be your one sample, two sample or paired. Everywhere we look at, we set a hypothesis, we try to test that are they same or are they different, and that is how you end up concluding. Now let's take some one or two example of parametric test. Okay, this is again a wonderful example. You can see there the statement here is like these are the sales, okay, current sales of Nissan, Mazda, Toyota, and Honda, right? And this is a previous year. This is what they have achieved. And now, right now, they did a survey, right, of 1,000 cars, and randomly, they have picked up the people, and they have actually counted how many are being taken. So this is the current sampling that is done. So 150 cars, 65, 385, 400. Now, this is how the 1,000 population is getting distributed. However, this is the previous year sales, that is the distribution of car sales that is seen. And we would like to see like this one is similar to this or not. So we are going for what we say goodness of it. So what you do there initially, always you need to define computer that I am going to measure my frequency, right? It is based on frequency. All the weight cases are going to be done by frequency. Once you set this, then you go to analyze, then you go to non-parametric, and you go to chi-square. So this is how you do it, and you try to feed the data, whatever is the current data. You can see here at the back it is there. Nissan, Mazda, Toyota, and Honda, they are the value 150, 60, 385, and 400. Now, once you do that, then we open our chi-square test and we try to put the values here. So here you're testing the brand, whether it has changed or whether it remains the same. Basically, I'm trying to compare the current sales versus the previous sales, right? Are they same? Does it remain the same? Whatever is the population and what is the current sales, are they same or are they different? That is what I am actually gauging. So I input the values here. Manually you have to add here, add, you have to press, right, and press 180, then again add 100, add and 350, and add and 370. So like that you keep on doing, then press OK. Then this is what is going to be generated. You can see here these are the observed thing. These are the observed, and these are the expected. Why? Because last year they said, if you see the previous thing, they said like it is around 80%, 18%. So 180, 100, 350, and 370 if we are taking a sample of 1,000. So here right now we have got 150, 65, and all those things. So that is what has been compared here. This is was expected because this was the thing that was there last year. Now this is what is currently observed. Now whether these two population are the same or are they different, you can see that you can find that SIG value is less than 0.05, and we can conclude that current sale distribution is not the same as previous year sales. So this is how the chi-square is being applied. Now let's go to another test which is most popularly used by all the PhD